Charlie from Dr. Wen, and welcome along to another daily Doctor Who YouTube video. As promised, I'm back again with another video, and today I will rank all episode 2s of New Who. So they include Tooth and Claw, The Fires of Pompeii, The Shakespeare Code, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, Smile, The End of the World, The Ghost Monument, Into the Dalek, The Beast Below, The Witch's Familiar, Spyfall Part 2, and Day of the Moon. That's not in any particular order, but I generally have a fairly high opinion of lots of these episodes. There's only one that I'd say I don't like, and this is the second in a series of 12 videos I'll be doing. In each one I will rank all episodes 1s, 2s, 3s, etc. So yes, there are 12 of these, one for each series, and with two-parters I will only be including the second part, not the story as a whole, because I've not done that for episode 1s. So anyway, let's get into this video. I hope you enjoy. So in 12th place then we have Tooth and Claw. I've given this a 5.9. This is the only episode I'd say I don't like. Any score below 6 I'd say I don't like. Firstly, it isn't very memorable. It's just a bit bland, and whenever someone says, oh, picture some really good 10th Doctor episodes, I definitely don't picture this. I think series 3 and 4 episodes, I think this was kind of where he was just getting started. This was only his third story, arguably only second, because Christmas Invasion was more of a Rose-focused episode. I do sort of like the base under siege aspect of it. I don't really think it works in the past, though. This really didn't need to be a historical at all. You could get a werewolf from literally any point in time and space and just put it down there and it would work, unless it was like a high-tech futuristic base, but I do kind of see what they were going for, like the whole gothic medieval sort of setting. I think the werewolf is a bit of a generic idea, but this does have some redeeming qualities. For example, it sets up Torchwood, how Queen Victoria at the end announced that since the werewolf almost killed her, then she'd set up an organisation to stop these beasts, and I thought that was quite cool, and does set up Torchwood and give us a bit of a link back to Jack Harkness, but it doesn't really make sense where the werewolf came from or what it was doing. I think that was kind of glossed over a bit, and I think this would have benefited from being a two-parter, or just not existing at all. So in 11th place we have The Fires of Pompeii with 6.7. This is a huge leap in quality from Tooth and Claw, and I actually had a little bit of enjoyment watching. The main reason why I'm not that keen on it is it's not very memorable. I think it's arguably the weakest story in Series 4, and it has quite a confusing villain and ending. I think this would have benefited from being a pure historical, just focusing on the Doctor and Donna kind of trying to warn them about Pompeii, but the 10th Doctor stopping her, and the moral dilemma whether to save them. I do think that was quite good about this episode, but yes, I don't really think there was any need for the whole order that prayed to the fire god and the pyro-vials. I don't really think that was really needed at all, but this does have Peter Capaldi and Karen Gillan, both of whom would return in Doctor Who in series 5 and 8, so I did quite like seeing them like that. In 10th place we have The Shakespeare Code, which I've given a 7.3. Again, another huge leap in quality. It's gone up by another 0.6, and it's really good. It is the type of historical I don't like. I don't really like historicals that much that focus on one famous person, because it's just like they've got to save them because, you know, humankind depends on them or something. It just doesn't really sit well with me. This is Martha's first proper adventure besides Smith and Jones, and the first time she's time travelled, and I think her reactions to all these things in like the 1500s, that was really interesting. This does have some unnecessary filler subplots, like going underground to the hospital. It wasn't really necessary, and it was just kind of there to fill in the time. I think the Carrionites are interesting villains, but the creature design could have been improved. But I do think they could fit well with the setting. Any other place like I don't know, modern day Britain would just not really make much sense with them there. I think they kind of work well with this kind of story, but it's not very memorable and arguably one of the weakest of Series 3. In ninth place, we have Dinosaurs on a Spaceship with a 7.5. This is a really interesting episode because it's in Series 7 and it's right after Amy and Rory divorced and then got back together again. A subplot that I don't really see the need for and just kind of bogged down the first episode. This episode is kind of glossed over though, and I just don't really see the point. There are some really weird side characters in this that are completely unnecessary, and I don't know what Stephen Moffat was going for when, choosing characters for this series. I just really don't understand why they did that. I think with characters in the series, they just kind of lost the plot of it. It's still okay. I do quite like the concept of dinosaurs on a spaceship. It is a bit ridiculous, but there's not really much substance to the episode. I don't really like using that phrase because it doesn't really mean anything, but it's true. It's kind of empty. I think all you need to do to know what this episode's about is to hear the title, Dinosaurs on a Spaceship, and then you've kind of got the gist, really. The Solomon is a fairly bad villain, and I don't really see the whole need for those people on Earth who are going to blow it up. That was just unnecessary and a waste of time, but this does have some redeeming qualities, and it's quite a fun episode to watch, just to, put on the telly and relax and watch. So there we go. In 8th place we have Smile, which I've given an 8. Firstly, I do like this because Bill is one of my favourite companions in the entire show. I really like her as a companion, and it's really interesting seeing her reactions to all this, like the futuristic planet, the emoji bots, who I thought were quite good villains, actually. I think they're very underrated. Lots of people don't really like them just because, trying to appeal to younger people and kids. I don't really see why they needed to do that. The start and end kind of ruin it, because, especially the start, because it kind of ruins the tension. We already know that they're evil. Bill and the Doctor are excellent together, and I really like the scenes in the spaceship where he is. I thought that was really good, like the engine room or something like that. I thought those scenes were really good as well, and yeah, I just really like this. There's something else about it that I can't put my finger on why I actually like this episode so much. In 7th place we have The End of the World with an 8.3. This is the second episode of the 9th Doctor, of Rose, of Series 1, and of all of New Who, and it's pretty good. It's not one of the best of Series 1. I think very highly of Series 1, so this is kind of a little bit subpar in terms of episode quality. It's still a really good episode though. It's Rose's first proper adventure besides the episode Rose, and I think it's quite a generic concept going to the end of the world, but this was actually really good and a lot better than I thought it was going to be. Obviously, I started with the episode Rose. I watched this all on Netflix in 2017, and this was the second episode I watched, and I actually wasn't that keen on it at first, but after a rewatch, then I really liked this. It has really creative creature designs. I think most of the CGI and creature design budget went into this one episode, and I think it paid off really well. It's got quite good effects for its time, and Cassandra is an interesting villain. She does make a return in New Earth, and I actually wasn't really expecting her, so that twist at the end was quite good. So there we go. In 6th place we have The Ghost Monument, which I've given an 8.3 as well. This is a little bit better than End of the World, but it's pretty good, yeah. It's not one of the best of Series 11, but in terms of episode quality average, then this is probably par, maybe even a little bit higher. It's a really good adventure story, actually. I really like the whole journey that they're going on. I thought that was really good, and it gives us more time to flesh out these companions. Lots of people really don't like this story, and the 13th Doctor's era as a whole. I've said this repeatedly, I'm a huge fan of this era, and the 13th Doctor. I think it's all really brilliant, to be honest, and I don't really want it to stop. This is the first proper episode with the 13th Doctor where she's not, acting all strange from a post-regeneration. We get to see what she's like, and we also get to see the new TARDIS interior. I thought that was really good, and yeah, I just really like this. But it does have fairly unlikable side characters, and I don't really think it was necessary. I think they should have just been pulled into the spaceship and, they were part of the competition or something like that. So there we go. In 5th place we have Into the Dalek, which I've given an 8.4, a little bit better than The End of the World and The Ghost Monument, and this is actually one of the weakest of Series 8, I think really highly of Series 8, and this is actually subpar in terms of Series 8 quality. Either way, it's still a really good story, however. The Good Dalek is an interesting idea and concept, and I like, the fact that they had like a faulty Dalek who all he knew was goodness, and I thought that was really good. Where he was exterminating the Daleks himself, I thought that was a brilliant idea, and I like the direction they took the Daleks in this. I do quite like the side characters. That's a woman called Blue. I think she would be a great companion. And this does start off the Danny arc in the first few scenes where it's with Danny and Clara. I thought that was quite good and a nice start to the Danny arc, like I said. It does get a bit Base Under Siege at the end, but I still quite like that. I have a bit of a soft spot for Base Under Siege episodes. But yeah, I actually quite like this episode. In fourth place, we have The Beast Below with an 8.5. This is the second episode of Series 5 and Amy's first proper adventure besides the 11th hour with the 11th Doctor. This is a really underrated episode, actually. My only criticism to this really is that I wish this was much later in the series because we see how annoyed the 11th Doctor gets at Amy. I think at the time I was thinking, is he actually going to keep Amy? But I wasn't really that worried because she still had, another series to go. If it was towards the end of the series, then I'd actually be questioning whether she'd return for Series 6. Thankfully she did, and for half of Series 7. I think the Smilers are quite good, and it's quite a good mystery with the whole what's actually going on sort of thing. I thought that was quite good, and it's a really easy, light-hearted episode to watch, and yeah, I really like it. In third place, we have The Witch is Familiar with an 8.5. This is the second episode in a two-parter at the start of Series 9 and includes Clara, Davros, the Doctor, and the Master. So, yes, it was jam-packed with villains and enemies, and it was set mainly on Skaro, which was really cool because it's the Daleks' home planet. We hadn't even seen it in New Who yet, so there we go. I do quite like the Dalek designs, they're really creative, and I do quite like Davros in this. I think he shouldn't have betrayed the Doctor like that, using his regeneration energy to restore himself and all the Daleks. I think this should have been a really heartwarming episode where Davros actually does survive, but he turns good almost. He kind of gets a redemption arc. I think that would be really interesting. This also has a really emotional scene where Clara turns into a Dalek, which is really powerful because she's just really frustrated trying to let the Doctor know it was her, but all she could say was exterminate. I thought that was really good as well, and the Dalek regeneration is really cool, and I'm surprised they hadn't thought of that earlier. This is a really good story overall, and I really like it. In second place, we have Spyfall Part 2, the highest rated 13th Doctor episode in this list. I've given this an exact 9. Firstly, I think this is a really underrated story, and I like it just as much as Part 1. I think lots of people really like Part 1, but Part 2 not so much. I do quite like it because it's half modern day, half historical, which is brilliant. I prefer historicals and modern day to futuristic episodes any day. I do quite like the Doctor trying to chase the Master through time. I thought that was really good, and any scene with the Master in this was brilliant. I really like the new Master we have. And this also included the sound of drums as well, which hadn't been mentioned since Series 4, with the Doctor trying to contact the Master by doing da-da-da-da on the Morse code machine. I thought that was quite good, and I do quite like companions like hiding, they're kind of doing their own thing and surviving on their own. I thought that was quite good. Overall, this is a really strong episode. It's got a little bit of complicated plot, but that's about it. I really like it. Finally, in first place, we have Day of the Moon with a 9.2. Firstly, I mainly love this episode because of how horrifying it is. That the whole horror aspect of it's brilliant. I do like the tally marks, and the silence are really creepy, and the ending is pretty cool with the river in New York, but we don't know it's river yet, regenerating. I thought that was really unexpected, and loads of people had loads of theories about who it was, including the Doctor and the Master. This also sets up the Silence arc, introduced the People mainframe, that's introduced again in A Good Man Goes to War and The Wedding of River Song, so that's really good as well. And it is a little bit complicated, but to let that slide because of how brilliant this story is. I hope you enjoyed my list, guys. Feel free to put your list in the comments, and I will be doing a Q&A video in a few weeks' time, so feel free to post questions in the comments about my opinions on Doctor Who. I'll see you then. Next time. Since I ranked all episode 2s today, I'll be ranking all episode 3s tomorrow. Stay tuned for that, and I'll see you then. Goodbye.